Let the court hear your answer then, counsel.
The truth is, I don't really know. I'm stupid, but I've come up with a plausible reason here, or we don't have a case. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife blade out of the victim's body was surely so she could...
Save her.
Fucking... hide the knife! No, that's silly. According to the post-mortem report, the victim's death was not instant. It was semi-instant. A word which here means not semi-instant. That's correct. It's thought she would have remained conscious for a short while after sustaining the injury. Indeed, giving her the time to take hold of this piece of evidence that clearly indicates her killer. But the point is, being a medical research assistant, Mambambi-san was compelled to act when faced with the wounded victim. Instinctively, she pulled the blade out in an attempt to save Miss Brett's life, even though that's the exact opposite of what you're supposed to do. And everyone else knows it but me. Did you hear that, Your Excellency? It would seem this is the best we can expect of this young yokel.
Such inexperience. It's almost as if you were a woman of some kind. Ha ha. That would be ridiculous. A woman in a courtroom.
A woman.
Ha ha, women. God, I hate my wife.
No, I was gonna say, that's just women. Those are mythical beings.
Those are mythical beings. We don't have any of those here.
Is it just me, or does it suddenly feel much colder in here? Your Excellency, if I may.
Speak, witness.
I would like another opportunity to testify. In respect to the slipshod assertion just put forward by the yokel defense counsel, I mean. Slipshod? An excellent idea, Inspector. Our young yokel hopeful has a modicum of knowledge when it comes to the law, it seems. But in matters of medicine, he appears to possess not one iota of common sense.
Very well, Inspector. I will permit your request. You will testify again before the court on the subject of the defense counsel's assertion.
Yes, sir. I will do so flawlessly.
In other words, you're gonna fuck up like 10 times.
Don't worry about it.
Pulling blade from a wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding. That's basic knowledge that any medical research assistant with an ounce of sense ought to know. In other words, there's no good reason...
We never said she was a good medical assistant.
There's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. Let's not forget that the young student did have a motive for killing the victim. The man the victim murdered 9 months ago, Dr. Wilson, was the defendant's highly respected mentor. Is what you just said true, Inspector? Could pulling a knife from a wound really cause the wound to bleed heavily? Yes. Think of the weapon itself as a stopper in the wound that prevents excessive blood loss. Until a doctor is ready to provide proper treatment, that stopper shouldn't be removed. Oh, I see. Ha! This is why yokels should stay on the farm! Even a quack from some obscure mountain village would have such basic knowledge. Oh yeah, tell that to President McKinley, who dies like this year or something. Anyone who's ever given someone a little poke with a knife and pulled it out knows it. What? What? How many people do you know? I mean, I guess you're a prosecutor, but like, how many people do you know just casually go around stabbing people with knives? Oh, well, I've never stabbed anyone, you see. Or pulled a blade out of a wound, so... Of course you haven't. I didn't bring you up to behave like a bandit. Father, is it true what they're telling me? Yeah, it's basically remedial knowledge for medics. Ray would have been well aware of it. If she were to claim ignorance of such fundamentals, that would prove fatal in many ways. But then, why would Ray have done it? Could she have pulled out the knife in full knowledge that it would be fatal for Miss Brett?
I don't know.
How would that work? If, like, legally speaking, if someone stabs someone in this manner, like it stabbed through a lung or something that would cause fatal hemorrhaging, and then someone else pulled the blade out to cause blood loss, legally who would they define to be the murderer, or would it just be like a collective case?
I think it would be a collective case.
Like, I guess that makes sense, but like, ooh, that's such a gray area. It seems almost impossible to believe, but could my friend actually have...
Susato,
Who?
pull yourself together. We mustn't lose sight of why we're here.
Ah,
Counsel, it's time for your cross-examination.
oh. Yes, Your Excellency.
However, I must warn you that if your cross-examination fails to identify any blah blah blah, blah blah blah, yes, we've heard this a billion times before.
I understand. Believing in your clients and fighting for their cause until the very bitter end, I knew it would be hard, but I had no idea it would be this hard. Disgusting. I don't like men. Or do I? Osanaga-san.
I mean, unless if she thought she could stitch it up herself.
That's what I'm thinking as well. Dr. Wilson recognized Mambami-san's talent and offered her the position of assistant. Is she puffing out her cheeks, or has she just always had that kind of, like...
She's always had the puffy
Okay.
cheeks.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because she looks really cute from this angle.
Mm-hmm.
She's a cutie.
Keep in mind, whenever we're at this angle, we are looking up. When
Yeah.
we're usually looking at her, we're looking at her.
Yeah, we're looking at her from the side or down because she's kind of swole.
She's boy.
She's swole.
I would know a lot about that.
She was extremely grateful to him. Yes, the Englishwoman appears to have been a very broad-minded individual.
You're saying she was abroad? Right. Dr. Wilson had no time for outdated traditions. He met with opposition, of course, but he believed firmly in Mambami-san's abilities. Clearly, the defendant was in the man's debt, which only serves to prove my point.
This is hopeless. I can't find a single crack in this testimony anywhere. If Ray knew that withdrawing the knife from the wound would blah blah blah, blah 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 blah.
Susato,
I should really keep talking to you as if with your fake name. It says times like this when we especially remember the defendant. I got evidence. Evidence.
See, I mean, if you put something else, like your own finger, as you're removing the blade, you can continue to stop the bleeding.
Just let me stick a finger in there real quick.
You can do it. It's not sanitary, but...
That's how William McKinley died. Like, literally. Like, he got shot, and they tried to dig the bullet out, and it ended up causing way more damage, and that's how he ended up dying.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorite pieces of medical history. Okay, so they want me to pull around, like, dick around with the evidence. I think that this pen is way more important than it appears.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Now let's unscrew the barrel, shall we?
It's a knife!
Holy shit, it's a knife! Oh, what is this? This must be the little reservoir that holds the ink.
yes, you fill it by drawing ink from a bottle up through the nib.
Oh my god. Is something wrong, Father?
Just there doesn't actually appear to be any ink in there, that's all.
Oh yes, you're right. It's pretty much empty. Well, it could be on the verge of running out, I suppose. Yeah, it's very weird that a ink pen would have just nothing in it.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, there's a little point here. Some sort of emblem here, look. But it isn't a Yume University one.
It must belong to some other organization, I suppose. A business of some kind, like the Freemasons.
The what?
Don't worry about it. It would seem to imply that the pen doesn't in fact belong to Ray.
Yeah, let me just fucking update this all over the place. Hold on, let me just look at the pen. RM. Wait a second, Bird Lady's initials were RM, I think. Brett Jezebel. Yep, RM.
The fact that Miss Brett was clinging to this pen in her dying moments is very clearly a message too.
I identify her killer, you mean?
I don't think there can be any doubt that this is a key piece of evidence in this case.
Alright. Oh, hold on, I could look at the newspaper.
Look at the back.
Kitty cat!
Yes, he became a little over-animated when he was talking about his time in England. The photographer managed to capture the moment his hands were while he chopped me on the neck.
I do hope you weren't hurt.
Wait, hold on. What is this? Is it a... Oh, it's a cow. I was like, is that a bathing suit?
Is there anything interesting from back? Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume. Wait a second. Father! Isn't that your lab?
What? Let me see that. Oh my god. Shit!
It's this morning's paper that Sasaki-san gave us. And wasn't Giselle Brett an expert on poison?
I'm telling you, she killed herself.
Come to think of it, there was no article mentioning the story in our paper this morning, was there?
It's highly toxic poison. We've been working on the strictest confidence. I put Ray in charge of the project.
Ray!
If what's written here is true, it means that she tried to hide the theft from me, and moreover, the details were leaked somehow.
I don't believe it.
We need to read this article very carefully. Shit! Well, that's way more important than this stupid front article about a man and his cat and me.
We just get all up in here.
Okay. Okay.
Could you look closer at the autopsy real quick?
Yeah.
A single stab from personal.
I think, yeah, you're right. There was poison, but, like, we're a couple steps ahead here. Like, they don't want us to do that just yet.
Mm-hmm.
Or I need to press and get more information from Hosonaga here. Because I don't think anything that we have directly contradicts anything he's saying. Does that mean that if you use due care and attention, it would be alright?
Well, it depends on the injury, but... The blade is like a stopper in the wound. Remove it, and a serious hemorrhage would occur. In other words, a medic would need to be present before any attempt was made to withdraw the blade. Doing it without thinking would be madness. You just can't do it.
Oh, well, thank you for such a thorough explanation, at the very least. You see, Counsel, when you act without thinking, the result is a bloodbath. Are you threatening to stab me?
Back to the witness testimony, please. There will be no stabbings in my courtroom. Or arson. Looking at you, leprechaun ghost.
Hey! I died in a courtroom, now shall haunt every courtroom until the end of time!
How the fuck did he even get here?
I've been following
Susato-san and watching her in the courtroom bathroom. What? That's basic knowledge that any medical research assistant with an ounce of sense ought to know. Oh shit, I was right, I was gonna press. Stop shaking your head like that! There's an obvious explanation here. Which is? Clearly, the defendant Ray Mambabi-san does not possess an ounce of sense. Very true. What do you think about that, Professor Mikotoba? I'm not sure you should be labeling your best friend as lacking in common sense. Well, I thought it would be better than labeling her as a murderer. I don't know young people today. If that's friendship, I don't understand it.
Careful, Council. A lack of common sense can be a very dangerous thing. Look at my big mallet. I go schmeck schmeck.
Oh dear. That recoiled on me rather badly.
That's life, I'm afraid. A lesson everyone must learn.
Did he fucking read our mind?
Probably.
Yes! Just fucking the Mikotoba family just has the power of telepathy. Or not telepathy, no, it is telepathy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hopefully you can see now that this is really basic medical knowledge. Being involved in medical research, Membadi-san would clearly have been aware of it. In other words, there's no blah blah.
Unless the knife was already pulled out.
But the defendant had suddenly encountered somebody she knew lying on the ground, bleeding to death. Where's my phone? I don't want to lose it. There it is. Okay, there we go. The sight could have shocked her delicate sensibilities, causing her. She's a woman after all, and since she's a woman, she could have been prone to hysterics, as the English say. You know.
You just gotta massage the clit a little bit.
You just.
That's how they
In
do
my
it.
experience, that seems to solve all of women's problems. Someone should do it to Ray immediately. In fact, I would prefer to do it myself if possible. In fact, I hear that it's good to have some lubrication, so I'll use my tongue to do so right here in this courtroom. You know, to soothe her hysterics. Mikutama just looks over. Daughter, please. The sight could have shocked her delicate sensibilities, causing her to remove the blade inadvertently. What a silly thing to say. I really don't think inadvertent actions can explain this. Look, my turtle. He's so concerned. I need to pet him to make sure he's okay.
Oh my god, I love it!
The woman is a medical research assistant. I can't imagine she would behave so irrationally. Oh, but irrational behavior is a woman's prerogative, isn't it? I can't believe that I fucking predicted this line of thought. I think that's a rather sexist opinion. Oh dear, you have a lot to learn about women. Only a small-minded man such as yourself could have such a bigoted views. Oh dear, perhaps I'm letting my male persona take hold a little too much. Well, have I managed to convey the basics now? Women are people too, Counsel. That should cover the medical side of the argument. He's such a fucking dude. He's such a bro. At least, when he's not a witness. I don't know what to do here, honestly. But she had both motive and opportunity. That's hard to argue against. But you don't know the defendant! And you, counsel, do not appear to know the law! Yes, evidence is the only way to convince the court of your argument, not feelings. Yes, facts over feelings, snowflake! With this fledgling to defend her, I would almost say I pity the accused. So do I.
Inspector, you will reiterate your point about the defendant's motive, please.
Yes. Miss Brett was in many ways the sworn enemy of Membadi-san. Okay, let's see, do we have anything explicitly that goes against that. Piercing a lung. See, I wanted to do the pen on this, but I feel like that's too many jumps. 'Cause, like, the defendant may have known that the poison was in the pen, which was the knife, quote unquote, which we don't have. And so she would have pulled it out to get, like, prevent her from being poisoned, but I feel like we're too many steps ahead for that.
I also have a quick question. Can we go to the picture
Yeah.
of the scene of the crime?
Yeah.
So you see the wine.
Mm-hmm.
So we think it's the pen.
I think the pen is the murder weapon.
Yeah.
But
the
there's
wine
there's
could
no
be...
blood on it.
There's no blood on it.
Yeah, right now I think we just need to... I think the pen was like a syringe sort of thing. Like, it probably inserted it. And so I think the wine is probably what's on her back. I don't think it's actually blood. But, again, I think we're too many steps ahead.
There also could have been a stabbing just to cover it up.
Pulling a blade from a wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding.
Why wasn't there really too much bleeding anyway? I don't know.
I'm gonna save.
Good idea.
I have an idea. See, like, this seems like it's gonna be the statement, because, like, whenever they do like, oh, there's no good reason, like, that always is the thing that we can contradict, but I don't feel like we have knowledge for what could contradict that. My other thought is the very first statement here. This against the picture, because then we could do your thing about why'd we not see heavy bleeding. But I think this is probably more correct. What if...
Objection!
Nope.
Objection!
Okay. Figured
What was
out by blind guessing. No, there is one possibility. One very good reason why the defendant might have decided to withdraw the knife from the victim's wound. Which, fucking... I'm not gonna be mad, because there were definitely worse moments in the first game. But, like, this seems like such a leap in logic from what the games usually... Especially for the first case, too. Like, you have to take such a leap here. Yokel not only has a poor grasp of the law, but also is also a poor loser. Tell us then, what possibility do you think you've identified? It's here, in this newspaper article. I mean, I guess it makes sense, because they just talked about just introduced the idea of examining evidence, and this is the first piece of evidence that we got through that method. But still, like, I think that we should have talked about how they didn't find the knife, at least first.
Mm-hmm.
An article about deadly poison having been stolen from a laboratory at the Imperial Yume
Objection!
It also doesn't help that they don't talk about how Giselle Brett was an expert in poison in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know that from the first game, but if this, for whatever reason, if you were playing this game first, it would have been a much harder thing to connect. Hold on, gotta adjust me. Blanket. The victim perished from a stab wound. Poison has no relevance in this case. Well, you forget, sir, that we live in Japan, and our autopsy system is terrible.
Prosecutor, Sir Oichi, you let the defense speak.
But a newspaper article? The court cannot rely on the kind of hearsay those wretched publications carry.
Shut up! Counsel for the defense. I'm going to need some tangible basis for your claim. You will indicate to the court precisely what part of the newspaper article mentioned affirms your assertion.
Your Excellency! Yes, of course. We'll just ignore him. Thank you. Ray would never have done something to further endanger Miss Brett's life without just cause. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife from the victim's body is explained in the article where it says...
Oh, the longer it
Fucking-
stays on the body.
Fucking... Oh my god, yeah, this is such a... We didn't hear it. Oh, because we didn't examine it. Ah, I see. Okay. Damn it. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna give the game this credit because we should have examined this before.
Mm-hmm.
On the 11th of August, it's come to light that a very disturbing incident took place. A deadly poison being secretly developed in the university's forensic science laboratory was stolen. Even the smallest amount entering the body, either via the mouth or via a wound from a poison-laced blade, would prove fatal in minutes. Current methods cannot detect the newly developed chemical. Ah, yes, that makes it... Okay, that makes a lot more sense now. Onset of symptoms occurs in minutes, starting with impaired breathing and ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death. Such symptoms would be suggestive of this toxin. It's apparently an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids and rumored to have been commissioned by the military. Okay, so there we go. That's actual evidence that connects it. Okay, so the reason why she did it is probably deadly in tiny quantities. The article reveals the following property about the poison in question. When the toxin enters the body on a knife laced with the poison, it's rapidly absorbed and causes death in minutes. Are you suggesting? If the knife used... Oh my god, I can't talk today. If the knife used to attack Miss Brett was laced with this very poison, it would explain why the defendant, Membami-san, would have withdrawn the blade as soon as possible. Yes, the truth is... Point! It was an attempt to stop the poison from entering the victim's body. What?
Objection!
I don't believe it! This is complete and utter nonsense!
How would she know about the poison?
Not at
That would
all.
be their-
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be the next line of questioning that the prosecutor's going to go for. It's like, if she knew about the poison, how do you know that she didn't do the poisoning? The defendant withdrew the knife blade from the victim's body not to accelerate the woman's demise, but to save her life, and the prosecution cannot deny the possibility. Have you not read the post-mortem report? The cause of death was hemorrhage! The word poison appears nowhere in the document! Well, that's because by acting quickly to remove the blade, the defendant prevented the poison from taking hold. Oh, please! This is clearly desperation, like a weasel's last breaking of wind. What the fuck is that expression? Poison has nothing
Is
whatsoever.
that a fart joke?
Yes, it was a fart joke. Poison has nothing whatsoever to do with this case, as I believe the defense is well aware. We have no proof that the information in this wretched newspaper article is at all reliable anyway.
In that situation, what the student should have done is wait for medical assistance to arrive. But instead, you claim that she suspected poisoning and took the potentially lethal decision to remove the blade. She must have had a strong reason for her suspicions then, or the argument makes no sense.
Exactly. Well put, Inspector. On what grounds did she do it, yokel?
Why did Ray suspect the stolen poison was involved?
Honestly, like, 90% of the fucking Ace Attorney cases could be, like, sped up if we just fucking talked to the defendant beforehand and gotten their side of the story. I'll give you grounds. You can't possibly...
From your expression, Counsel, it would appear those are not empty words.
No.
But naturally, as you stand in this courtroom as a lawyer, you must be aware that words alone, empty or not, are of no value in our modern justice system. The court demands evidence.
Yes, Your Excellency. Hold on. I think I have a screenshot that is relevant to the situation. Hold on. Where is it? Somewhere. Here we go. Somewhere. Where are you? I think I'm too far back. Hold on. Was it before or after Monster Hunter? It was after. There we go.
Interval.
Irrefutable proof? Here in this courtroom? It's more surprising than you may think!
I really hope Van Zeeks comes back, but I also really hope I remember his voice, because that definitely was not it.
Mm-mm.
I've seen it many
You
times.
gave him, like...
I gave him... Yes, 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 here we go. He's a super sexy man, but he has the voice of a fucking... grating nails on chalkboard. I've seen it many times, from my place at his side in the Old Bailey.
In that case, Counsel, you will present the proof to the court now. What evidence demonstrates a clear link between this case and the poison in the newspaper article?
The pen, right? It's either the pen or the poison article again.
How exactly would you explain?
What? Is that not it?
Okay.
Oh, was it not the...
It wasn't the pen. Oh, okay. Sorry, I just misunderstood what they were asking, I guess. Okay, so it's asking how it connects. It's definitely the autopsy report, then. I would ask the court to refer to the notes section of the postmortem report, which reads, extreme meiosis, pupil constriction... Oh, shit, that's wrong. Because constriction and contraction are different, right? I don't know, maybe that will come up. Clearly, being a yokel with no knowledge of forensic science, I have no idea, so please do tell me. Presumably the fact that this condition of the victim was noted in the post-mortem report means that it's an unusual symptom of death? Well... Under normal circumstances, the pupils dilate when someone dies. If there was extreme constriction instead, that's most certainly unusual, yes. What are you doing, you yokel detective? In the newspaper article, there's the following information about the stolen poison. Onset of symptoms occurs in minutes, ending with acute contraction of pupils prior to death. What? If the defendant, upon seeing the victim stabbed in the back, happened to notice that the pupils of Miss Brett's eyes had constricted severely...
Yes, as a medical research assistant, she would have suspected poison immediately, without doubt.
Prosecutor Awichi, I think you'll agree. This is very compelling evidence. Yoo-hoo! Yokel student, yokel professor!
Shut up. I'm believe the defense has expertly demonstrated a credible reason for the defendant's actions.
No.
Yujin Mikotoba. That's me. I believe you are best placed here to confirm or deny the veracity of the defense counsel's argument. You will tell the court the truth about the details reported in the newspaper, please. Oh well. It pains me to have to admit it. But I'm afraid I don't know. You don't know? The toxin was kept under lock and key in my laboratory, certainly, but I was unaware of any theft. Do you mean to tell the court that the reports of the theft are unfounded? No, Your Excellency. Without returning to the laboratory to investigate myself, I couldn't say.
Listen to the bumbling academic! Unaware of the theft of a secret state research from his own workplace until he reads of it in the newspaper.
I take full responsibility for the incompetence of my supervision.
Father. A pitiful situation for the university professor. You should have more control over your students rather than allow them off on killing sprees!
Well, you see, that's the problem. It's the government's fault that a murder was even allowed in the university.
That's totally unfounded. Who the fuck? It's me! None of this is Professor Mikotoba's fault. It's all my fault! Ray.
Buddy, son, you stand accused here. Outbursts like this will not be tolerated.
But it was me. I was the one that noticed that the poison we were developing had been stolen that day.
What?
So you knew? I'd been placed in charge of overseeing the project. It was the day that the professor and Sasaki-san were interviewed together for the newspaper. That's when I noticed that some of the poison was missing. Just a tiny amount it was.
Why didn't you let me know immediately?
Oopsie! I was scared. The whole project was supposed to be confidential, but some of the toxin had been somehow taken. So, I decided I'd try to get it back before anyone else found out. Because I had a very clear idea who the thief was. The thief? You don't mean... Yes, of course. It was that dainty Englishwoman.
Miss Giselle Brett.
That's why I decided to join the little group of people going to the seaside. To sell seashells by the seashore. Outside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. But she just sat on a stool at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me, as if she knew she was untouchable. So I stabbed her. I knew it was you who stole the poison. Well now, whatever do you mean? And then, she suddenly got to her feet, before falling to her knees in front of me and collapsing on the floor. That's when I saw the knife in her back. I couldn't understand what had just happened. She was stabbed by a ghost! Then a moment later I was seized with fear. The pupils of her eyes they'd shrunk to tiny pinpoints.
I don't believe it. In other words, you realize that the victim was suffering the effects of the stolen poison.
My mind started racing. I hadn't seen anything past Miss Brett's lips whilst I'd been with her, which left only one possible way for the poison to have entered her body. On the blade of the knife in her back.
And that train of thought was what spurred you to withdraw the blade.
Yes, if the amount that had entered her bloodstream was small enough, she might still have a chance. That's what I hoped. Really,
Bonk!
I'm sorry for staying silent all this time.
Did you just hit your head on the bench there? Silly woman. Your attempt to hide the truth of what happened is not something that can be overlooked. However, I have duly noted the courage with which you have confessed in the end.
Thank you. Yeah, bonk! Your Excellency! Ow! It's barely perceptible, but I do think the balance has shifted a little here in this courtroom.
Objection!
No, the fuck it hasn't! Your Excellency, do not be deceived by this woman! The victim just collapsed before your eyes, you say? Well, Mampari-san, if that is the case, perhaps you could explain how Miss Brett came to be stabbed.
I told you.
It was a ghost. Well, you have no answer, because the simple truth is, you stabbed the victim motivated by revenge.
But that's impossible. The ghost stabbed her, unless I'm a ghost. Bye.
She just disappears.
But you have no What the fuck just happened?